Good evening and welcome to Savage Universe. I did that in the wrong order. It's always card then music, but today we're here with the guys from Cornerstone Games, Hussman and Justin. Welcome and thank you for joining us for tonight's Savage Universe stream. How are you guys doing tonight?
Great, thanks for having us.
Fantastic.
Awesome. So this is the last of our SWAGtember streams, and as luck would have it, I have the joy to just hang out with four great swag authors, and we're going to talk about that. So before we get into it, the SWAGtember bundle is still going on Drive-Thru RPG. This is a bundle that has been put together by the unofficial Savage Worlds Discord, and you get about $100 worth of Savage Worlds products for $30. It's a great deal. Follow the link if you haven't picked it up already. But let's start with introductions. Justin, why don't you start us off and tell us who you are, what you've been doing with Swag, and why you love Savage Worlds.
Well, my name's Justin. I live in upstate New York, and I had a daughter a few years ago and decided that I wanted to share my love of tabletop gaming with her. She's a little young yet, but I got to jump on it. I'm kind of proactive. So I started working on some swag stuff that's primarily focused on kids playing or families playing, parents with their kids, introducing kids into the idea of collaborative storytelling and narrative-based tabletop gameplay, getting them off the screens, getting them off of TikTok, all that stuff. And so my campaign plot point setting is based on fairy tales and nursery rhymes. There's a little bit of some twists in there. It's not what you would necessarily expect, but I used the source material that kids would love and kids would be familiar with, because I think Savage Worlds is a great system. It's simple, it's effective, and it's great to share with kids and great to do some narrative storytelling with.
I'm putting a link to that. We'll come back to the setting that you've put together. But I agree with Mom, raising them right. You and I were talking about how I'm planning on doing a Savage Worlds Club at my son's middle school in January, and possibly even tying in with their entrepreneurial track and seeing if we can't get some new swag authors, get them hooked young in middle school so that they will just grow on to, put together some great plot point campaigns in the future. What about, let's go to Cornerstone Games, because, you're in the corner. Let's go with that. Tell us about yourselves, how you got into Savage Worlds, and what you have going on.
All right. So I'm Joseph. I'm the head writer for Cornerstone Games. I got into it mostly because of this guy over here. I met my wife through him because they are great friends. And I was kind of what you could call a late bloomer nerd. It wasn't until like halfway through college I even played a tabletop game. And as I started to try to get into more unique styles or wanting to do something, I found out that trying to just make something work for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons was way too difficult and too much of a headache. And I was like, I just want to play Wild West tabletop. And it's like, oh, there's this thing called Deadlands that's been around for...
Yes.
And, I mean, I got so hooked that just a couple weeks ago, I got myself some permanent bennies, if you can see it.
Oh, awesome.
And...
that's dedication.
Oh yeah, for sure. Very painful. I mean it. But it just kind of turned into something where I like to write campaigns, and Justin started Cornerstone Games and he was doing it on his own. And I started just being a sounding off for it, saying, well, why don't you do this or do that? And he said, well, why don't you do it? Okay. And now we got 6 adventures under our belt. And I don't think I could have ever written for a different kind of game system, honestly. It's worked with where you can actually have a weird idea and make it function.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I love about it. Anybody can do anything bizarre with it, and you can actually make it matter. If you have a character with only one arm in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, they're one arm. There's no mechanics. There's nothing to it. So, no. I love Savage Worlds. That's pretty much it.
Well, you're in the right spot to talk about your love of Savage Worlds.
Oh, yeah. Hope so.
And what about you?
I'm the talking guy. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and you guys have Rise of the Goldwalkers, which we'll talk about later, but I've got the link in there right now. And with a person who probably doesn't need all that much of an introduction here on the Savage Universe stream, Hussman, why don't you, for those who don't know who you are and haven't seen your unboxing videos,
is it? I guess in this case, it's probably good to have a reputation. Yeah, full name is Chris Hussey. I have one product under Swag. I have a couple more in the pipeline, which actually in this particular case, procrastination has paid off because they're fantasy-based adventures. And now with the fantasy companion out, I can actually go back and do a little bit of retooling on those and, make them just a bit more, I don't want to say less generic, because Savage Worlds does, really allow for a lot of customization, but it allows me to, I guess, personalize them a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. At this point, it's not procrastination; it's forethought.
Exactly, it is 100% forethought. I meant to do that, and it was very well thought out on my part. As far as other things, yeah, you mentioned the unboxing videos. I have done a few Suede-based unboxing videos that have garnered a little bit of attention. As far as, and I don't know if I can mention this, I have done a couple things for Pinnacle that haven't been published yet, but I guess I won't talk about what they are. So, anyway, so we'll just kind of
spoilers to Landauer.
Yeah, we'll gloss over those. Part of the reason I love it, Savage Worlds, is that it is first of all, for everything else that was mentioned is absolutely true. The ease of learning is great. And just the flexibility of it is top notch. I love the extra little rules subsystems, quick encounters, dramatic tasks, all of the mass combat, all of those things. They just really lend themselves to creating a different sort of excitement in the game. Mm-hmm. And I also really enjoy it because of what I get to see when new players try Savage Worlds. I go, for the few local cons that I go to, I'm always running Savage Worlds events, and having new players at the table is the best part of it for me. And getting to see them grasp the concepts, and then get into the epicness that the game allows you to have. When once they get their first exploding die roll shot into their veins, and they start to realize what they can get out of that, man, it just suddenly they're on the roller coaster and they are ready to go. And it's great. It's just fantastic. That's one of the best parts of it.
The first time you ace.
Oh yeah. It's just sweet. So sweet. Yeah.
Well, so Justin, you and I were talking before the stream started, and you were saying that you have got your pitch for Savage Worlds down pretty tight. You want to give us your pitch for Savage Worlds?
I could try. I could try. I have a lot of friends who are into D&D. They've been into D&D a long time. We were talking earlier. It's like the old friend that comes back around. Everyone loves D&D. But sometimes you just don't want to worry about math. Sometimes you don't want to worry about hit points. Sometimes you don't want to worry about all the combat-centric stuff. And the best thing, and Hussman said it too, the best thing about Savage Worlds is how flexible it is. You can have all kinds of different things happen. You can tell different stories in different ways. You can have different settings. You can have different styles of game. If you want to sit around and just have the players do an interlude session, you can do that, and it's still just as exciting as it is when you go into a dungeon in D&D and you're rolling a D20 15 million times. In fact, one of my favorite things about Savage Worlds is that there's no D20. I hate the D20.
I hate, if we're talking about dice hate, I personally hate the D10 because it is not one of Plato's ideal octahedrons. No, not octahedrons, isohedrons. But that's just me. If it was good enough for Plato, it's good enough for me, and the D10 is just obviously an outlier. Well, let's actually go over to Cornerstone Games. You guys just had a new release. We got an article for it up on Savage Universe. So again, if you're a Swag author, please go to Savage Universe. Let me know. I love writing articles about new swag products. So you guys put out the Rise of the Goldwalkers, which was great. Give us the pitch. Sell people on Rise of the Goldwalkers.
Okay, so Rise of the Goldwalkers, funny enough, was it was actually the first adventure that I GM'd for our home game group, and we sat there and said, well, maybe we can actually make this into something bigger. So ultimately, the idea is that there is a mine in a town that was once a big booming gold town. This was the place to go. And then it shut down, became a ghost town. Then all of a sudden, it's back and running better than ever. Problem is that the actual gold coming from the town has stopped reaching the train yards. So they want people to go investigate. You show up in town and all you find are giant piles of gold just everywhere. The problem is that sometimes this gold actually gets up and tries to grab you. And then gold starts growing on you. And then you get yourself into a situation.
I love that it has a little bit, if you wanted to go this route, it's got a little bit of like body horror in the fact that the gold starts to transform you. But I also love the idea that the lure of gold is also the sort of the bait, if you will. Like you're just not grabbing gold; gold is grabbing you.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I remember my first go of playing Dungeons and Dragons. You see gold, you go to pick it up.
Oh yeah.
So it immediately puts players in a situation where you have to sit there and think, well, I want all the gold, but now I got to figure out if this gold is bad gold or good gold or fool's gold, and then just trying to figure out if, as you go along, I won't get into ruin any twists or anything, but naturally, if there's a mine full of gold and the gold's doing something bad and turning people into creatures, you got to go in the mine.
Oh yeah.
So you have to ask yourself the question: do we go in and destroy it, or do we try to at least get something out of it? Because there should be regular gold there, probably.
You can always rely on the greed of players.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I also I just try to remember all the dumb things I did as a player when I first started, and then just kind of find a way to put that in an adventure where it could be a teaching moment. Like
awesome.
In other adventures, there's stuff where the obvious thing you do is just go kill the guy, kill the thing, which is what most new players would do. But then you have to realize, is killing the thing actually going to fix the problem? Okay. So it's that kind of thing.
It sounds like it gives new meaning to the term gold rush.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we were punning it up. Heck, one of our players actually came up with the name because they were like, well, what do you want to call these things? And he's like, well, those gold walkers, we got to get them. And I'm like, writing that down. That's my idea.
That works.
Yep.
So what's next for Cornerstone Games?
So we're working on a bunch, quite a few little things. Right now, I'm working on a adventure that is going to be not necessarily exclusive, but the first time we're going to release it is going to be at BossCon 2024. They have a theme going on for it's supposed to be entering the mystic realm. So I decided to come up with a little idea that is kind of inverting that, where instead of it being regular people that are now in a magical, mystical, strange land, it's characters that are already from that strange land, and they're dealing with all these annoying humans that come from a place called Earth and keep messing everything up for them. All of a sudden, all these people show up from out of town saying that they're the chosen one. They talk about a princess from somewhere, and they keep trying to beat up all the goblins that live down the street. So ultimately, you have monster players trying to deal with regular people who keep showing up.
Nice. Any timeline on that one?
So
I won't hold you to it.
Oh yeah. It should be ready to go by, when's FallsCon again? That's April 20? Yep, April 2024.
Awesome.
Should have that one ready to go.
Very cool. Justin, let's jump over to you because you have a lot going on. You've got your swag product, your swag offering. Let's talk about that. Let's start there. Let's talk. You mentioned fairy tales. Give us a little bit more context.
Okay. Well, basically, it's like a complete mashup of every single fairy tale and nursery rhyme that I could figure out a way to squeeze into it. It's called Mysteries of Illusterion. And there's going to be sequels eventually, but I decided to hold off and wait and just let this one marinate for a little bit, let my daughter grow into it. She's only 4 right now, and I think 4 is a little too young. I'm going to give her till she's probably like 6. Let's see how we can introduce her at 6. I think 6 is a good age for this type of thing. But one of the things that I love about it is the scalability. I work in cybersecurity, so we're always talking about scalability. The scalability of this is great. If you're a parent and you want no fighting, you don't want to introduce any violence, every single plot point in my campaign can be achieved without fighting, without violence. They're puzzles, they're social situations like the dramatic tasks and other, it's diplomacy type stuff. However, there's also an enemies section in the back with all the stats that you would need. If maybe you're playing with brothers and sisters or cousins or friends and they're a little bit older and you do want to throw a little bit of combat in there, it's obviously possible to do that too. But I specifically designed Mysteries of Illusterion in such a way that you can play the entire plot point campaign without ever picking up an axe or a sword or anything. And I think that's one of the things that's really good. I mean, a lot of kids nowadays, parents will tell you they're exposed to who knows what online. You know, they have phones. You don't know what they're getting into. So this is just a nice, wholesome, family-based, friend-based group activity where you can get a bunch of kids around the table and just laugh and have fun. And I was really inspired. I was going to do this anyway, but once I got my hands on the Savage Worlds Dungeon Master Guide, I was like, they already had a lot of that in there about playing the different age groups. You know, there's a whole section on playing with kids and what you can do with 8-year-olds, how it's different from what you would do with 12-year-olds, how it's different from what you might do with 16-year-olds. And a lot of this stuff had already been figured out. I didn't want to reinvent the wheel, but yeah, that's it right there. I didn't want to reinvent the wheel, but I was really happy that I wasn't the only one who was thinking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, Jody did a great job on that that section in the World Builder and Game Master's Guide. I actually, is what inspired me to talk to the school and say, hey, could I do this? Now, you also have some other stuff on Amazon, and you have a nonprofit. You want to talk about those?
I do, sure. I'm a kids writer. I write for kids. I have on Amazon, there's 2 books available. One is called Don't Mess with Coleman Stoops. It's a middle grade fiction, realistic fiction story. It's about a kid that's kind of bullied, and then he learns to stand up for himself. So it's not completely new, but it's semi-autobiographical. And Coleman really steps up his game, and he's a gamer in the story too. So there's a little bit of that going on. It's really fantastic. And then I just put out last year a collection of kids' poetry called Pizza and Pixie Dust, which is similar to Shel Silverstein, Dr. Seuss type stuff. And both are available on Amazon. That you can get the Kindle version if you want. There's paperbacks available. The Pizza and Pixie Dust, there's a hardcover version. It's a little pricey because it's Amazon. So, I mean, but there's Kindles and paperbacks. It's great. I'm working on a couple more young adult novels right now. And like I said, eventually I'll swing around to a sequel so that there's an extended campaign for Mysteries of Illusterion Part 2.
Awesome.
And then the nonprofit, like you said, I'm working on that locally in the capital region of New York, which is the Albany area. It's tentatively called Dads and Dragons. And essentially what I want to do is help to spread the word about wholesome activities like tabletop role-playing games. And I want to encourage children and their families, parents, to get kids involved, get them off the screens, get them face-to-face, rebuild some of the social skills that I feel like we've lost because of the pandemic and some of the other things going on. And I'm going around to different gaming stores every weekend, and we're sitting down with people who've never even heard of Savage Worlds before. And I'm handing out pre-made character sheets, and we're just rolling. You know, I'm bringing a whole bag of dice, and they don't even have to show up with anything. And I'm just trying to get the kids excited and interested and engaged in collaborative narrative storytelling games. And that's my hope, is to have people learn about Savage Worlds and learn about tabletop RPG games. And if they eventually grow into Dungeons and Dragons, that's great. I'm not against Dungeons and Dragons, but Savage Worlds is a very, very simplified, streamlined way of getting people who've never done anything like this before, easing them into it and getting them excited about it.
Well, two things that kind of pop in my mind as you're talking about this is, one, I really feel like one of the reasons I'm a big advocate for role-playing games is it's really the only activity we still have in like modern, 21st century America, where we still get people together and sit around a table and talk, and everything else doesn't really matter because we're there to, to hang out and focus on something that's fun and relaxing and definitely brings people together face to face. And in a more and more digital world, I feel like that's just, there's some inherent value to that.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't have to just be RPGs. I mean, I love all tabletop games. My friends and I remember we would stay up until 4:00 in the morning throwing Risk. I mean, you get them in Kamchatka, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, anything around the table is just great. You just put the screens away, I mean, we've had enough. I mean, I understand the irony of being on a live stream. Saying that.
You're going to get us all sued. No. The other thing I was going to say is, one of the things I love about Savage Worlds, and I think everybody's kind of touched on it, is the fact that you see a lot of new products coming out for other games, which is like, we're going to take this game system and we're going to hammer it into this genre. And we've had to bend a lot of things and twist a lot of pieces to get it to work like this. Because as you were saying earlier, people like what's familiar. I'd rather keep playing this game in this setting, even though it doesn't work well, because I'm very familiar with this game. Well, that's the beauty of Savage Worlds. It works for every genre.
It does. And you don't need to say, okay, well, I'm in the mood for Warhammer today. Tomorrow I'm going to play the Star Wars one. The day after that, I'm going to play Dungeons and Dragons. You can literally just say, you know what? I'm playing Savage Worlds every day. And it doesn't matter if you're on Tatooine. It doesn't matter if you're at Hogwarts. It doesn't matter where you are. You can fit it into Savage Worlds. That's why I came up with the idea to just do the fairy tales and nursery rhymes and start with the little toddlers and work their way up. And if my daughter comes to me and says, Daddy, I really like horses someday in the future, you know what? Maybe I'll do a Black Beauty. I don't know. Who knows?
It's the beauty of it.
It's wide open.
You've been nodding along like
it's because I agree. I mean, I'm loving everything that I'm hearing. I think that's a great approach. It's a great philosophy, and it just makes a lot of sense. And you're 100% correct, Justin, in the whole idea of just being around a physical table and doing that activity. And I think, one of the benefits too that came out of COVID is the advancements in the virtual technology, so that VTTs and everything can accommodate that. And it doesn't completely duplicate that experience, because there is nothing that duplicates being around that table. The energy is absolutely different and very special in its own way. But having the ability to play games, most of the games that I have played, since COVID have been online. And thankfully, the technology has been there to accommodate that too. So it's good to hear that level of enthusiasm for that noble a cause. I dig that.
Yeah, like when you get it up and running and you want to get a little bit more awareness out there, let me know. I'd love to chat about it with you some more.
That would be great.
So I had a list of questions for you, Hussman, but I'm gonna pivot and I'm gonna freewheel, which is dangerous.
That's
dangerous
fine
for me tonight.
Yep. All right.
What VTT are you using?
I use a variety. Basically, I'll kind of flip between Foundry and Roll20.
Okay.
I own Foundry, and my experience level with it is minimal at best. But thankfully I have friends who know it much better than I do, so I've been able to learn a bit more here and there. And also too, sometimes it has been just straight up, you're in a Discord channel, theater of the mind, and you're just you're just using that.
Yeah.
And it works great. And which, again, I mean, and a lot of games have this ability too. So it's not just exclusively a Savage Worlds thing, but Savage Worlds does allow for pretty easy theater of the mind, and
it really does.
Has good guidelines in the book for accommodating that. You know, like, all right, how many people am I actually getting with a cone template if I'm not sitting around a table and being tactical? Well, it actually tells you how many you can assume to get with that.
Gun to my head, that's my favorite rule in Savage Worlds. I realize I love all of the rules of Savage Worlds, but for some reason, that very easy, hey, here's the blast template. We're playing Theater of the Mind. Okay, here's the corollary between, you know, a medium blast template and a cone template. And
yeah, it's nice too, because it's, I mean, whilst being an elegant rule, what the unspoken part of that is it acknowledges the fact that gamers sometimes can get a little picky, you know, and argumentative about certain things. And so, but if it's in the book and it says it gets 2 people for this template, well, the book says, you know,
it says it's 2 people.
Yes. What are you gonna do, man? That's the way it is.
Well, I was going to say, if you have any questions, and if you out there in Savage Universe land have any questions about Savage Worlds and Foundry, currently we've got a new series that's going live on Tuesdays and Thursdays on Peg's YouTube channel. Go over to Peg's YouTube channel, subscribe. There's a series called First Bites, and the first 18 episodes have already been recorded, edited, and it's a overview of playing Savage Worlds on Roll20 with Findersky. He's kind of giving you the ins and outs, and I'm doing the same thing for Foundry about 4 episodes into my recording. So if you have questions about Foundry and you want to say, JM, how do I do X? Give me warning, like shoot me an email, go over to Savage Universe, go to the web email at the bottom, send them to me, and I will do a special episode just on how to do that. I had a friend, I used one of my favorite modules for Foundry is called Dice So Nice, so that people can customize their dice. And it was like 2 or 3 weeks into the game, and somebody was like, how do I access that again? And I was like, I don't know. You got to scroll up to the top of the chat. Surely there is an easier solution for this. And, you know, 15 minutes later, I've dug through several forums and found how players can access modules. So that's now a new entry in our First Bites video release for Foundry. So if you have questions, please let me know. It helps me come up with more content for the Foundry side of things. So you're not in this bundle, but you do have a swag product. Do you want to talk about that?
Me?
Yeah.
I'll talk about it, and then I'll even call myself out for trying to get my other 2 which I very much would like to get out in the following, or in this upcoming year. Yes. So in this swag product, it is, I guess you could say it's old. I want to say maybe 2020 is when it came out, but it is, and I put it on sale once, and then I've left it on sale since because of its age. But it's called The Wolverines Take the Highway to the Danger Zone. And the best way to describe it is it's very much the Breakfast Club meets Red Dawn.
Yes.
In the sense that it is very 80s. It does take place in the 80s. We give a little bit of 80s background as far as dealing with that. There is a 80s slang sheet in there.
Yes.
So you can get some proper terminology if you didn't happen to grow up in that era. And that's
radical.
I was just gonna say that's rad.
That's right. Absolutely. 100%. It's pretty mint. What can I say? You know, it was a good idea. But while it does have a definitive beginning and a definitive end to kind of round things out, everything in between is very sandboxy in the sense that with the pre-gens that are provided, you can use their knowledge to help dictate where the group may want to go and what they want to do. But of course, obviously, the goal here is it's graduation day. Graduation day has been ruined because the commies have invaded, and you need to now go and save your town and save some various loved ones that are important to you.
Is there any dancing?
You know what? Honestly, there could be. There's room for that because the final encounter does take place in and around the high school. So you have to go back to the gym, and there's nothing to say that you can't have a dance off in an effort to try and free people.
Awesome.
Because dance does free people. I mean, we
Dance
all
does
kind of
free
know
people.
how that goes.
I realize
So-
I went like this, but I think I should be going
Yeah,
in honor of
exactly.
Judd
Yeah,
Nelson.
something like
Yeah,
that.
there we go.
Yeah.
How about montages? You did put some
Ooh.
montages in there, right?
You probably it is. I think it's sandboxy enough in there that a clever GM could take the interludes mechanic and adapt it to make it into a montage to get a couple extra bennies for the players. I'd 100% be behind that.
Awesome.
The two products and they are essentially written, but like I said, I do need to do a little bit of reworking for Fantasy Companion. They're both obviously fantasy genre based, but these are con events that I've run many times over the past several years. One is called All Good Things Must Come to a Beginning, and it basically takes a lot of very stereotypical fantasy tropes and kind of turns them, I don't want to say turns them on their head, but maybe turns them slightly sideways. And there is a deeper mystery that happens that I don't want to give any spoilers, but the action actually does start in a tavern in there, but things kind of go a little strange from that point forward. Having run that one many times, and this is the advantage of having extensive playtesting, I've learned to alter and fix some of the encounters in there so that it's because it started off initially a little combat heavy, but then I began to realize once I got more into Savage Worlds that I can change some of these, still keep the drama up, but just use, like, say, dramatic task or a modified dramatic task to mix things up a little bit.
Awesome.
The other one is called Warrior Needs Food Badly. And
any Gauntlet reference is automatically an auto buy for me. So
thank you. I appreciate that. That to me, I think, has been part of, I don't want to say part of the event's success, but it certainly is part of the draw in the sense that that title draws people in to, like, what is this? And your group of heroes are known as the Chosen. You are literally the chosen ones. And your quest involves going to visit the place where this entity known as the Warrior resides. You have a very specific mission that you have to undertake in regards to the Warrior, but you begin to learn through your travels that everything, it may, of course, not be as it seems. And then it actually comes down to some very difficult decisions that have to be made in the end. And it's one where, man, I think it must have taken me 6 times to run that before I finally got a repeat ending. And there was one time when I ran it, and because I had, like, some of the ideas in my head, like it could go this, and then I did have a player who gave me something I had never thought of before, something very much out of left field and required a lot of quick GM improv at this particular con event when I was running it. So that was great. But yeah, those are the two. They are, like I said, they are pretty much fleshed out, ready to go. They just have the pre-gens already made, and it just needs to be done. And I have to convince my layout person who helped me with Wolverines to come and help me again with this. So
awesome. Very cool. So, and I've just got to ask, because the internet wants to know, are we getting more unboxing videos?
Probably. I think I want to say this happened just before I left work today, but I want to say I got my notification for Crimson Throne for Pathfinder. Maybe that's what it was. I'm not sure. For Savage Pathfinder. So, and I believe I wised up and I got the box with that, because I think that you could box with that one. I made the mistake, and I didn't go box with the initial Savage Pathfinder when it came out. But I did go that way with it things since then. So yes, if it's large enough and comes in a box, I will 100% do an unboxing video. As long as I can get Alan to continue to voice them, then I will, because after I did the very first one, he threatened me with lending his voice to all the subsequent ones, and I said, well, be careful what you wish for. So
that's right.
Yeah. And they have dramatically improved since, because nobody can do a lovely bass voice like him. So
you send me the link when it goes live, and I will make sure that it gets spread all around the internet in Savage circles.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, one last question for the group, and we'll wrap this up. If you could give a piece of advice to aspiring Savage Worlds GMs, aspiring Savage Worlds players, or more, maybe more on point, people who are like, I kind of maybe want to jump into the Savage World Adventurers Guild, what would your piece of advice be?
To actually do in regards to the program?
Yeah.
I would say do your best. Well, okay. One piece of advice.
I know, right?
Okay, all right. This is tough. Yes,
I don't know.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know. I'm thinking. The wheels are spinning. I'm not sure.
I guess mine would be to engage in some Savage Worlds communities, and do not be afraid to ask for help. There's several out there, whether they're official or unofficial, where you can definitely find some help. The Gaming with Gage and Friends is a fantastic one. ED Soul Games, the Savage Interludes one has a lot of great minds on there. Those are the two that immediately jump to mind for me, and it's good advice because it's a great community. The Savage Worlds community is easily one of the most friendly and inviting communities, welcoming. And so, yeah, and to not be afraid to take that shot. It may sell, it may not sell a lot, but it's more content out there, and things like SWAGtember are perfect for that.
Well, SWAGtember, and honestly, like again, not just because it's my job and it keeps me doing this job, but I don't know of another company that is actually actively engaged in marketing and advertising for fan-created second and third party supplements. If you're going to get into this, one, send me an email so that I can make sure everyone knows about it. But you're not just another entry on a website. Like, there is a way to actually get yours to stand out, to get your voice heard, to get the artwork that you have shown off, and drive people directly to your page.
Yeah, and I would add on to that too. Like, this goes back to the flexibility comment, and both the Cornerstone product, the Gold Walkers, and Justin, your fairy tale thing. Those two things are very, very far apart from each other as far as subject matter and who the target audience, all of that stuff. But it's still all under that same operating system, that same rule set, and the swag program allows for that kind of stuff to happen, which is phenomenal. It's a great thing. And if you go and you look at a lot of those third-party Savage World stuff, you'll find that it covers so many different genres. It's astounding.
Yeah. Cornerstone, Justin, anything to add?
I got some just advice for anyone that wants to either start writing for themselves or just that want a GM. It's been said a couple dozen times, there's no limit to what you can do. If you want to do science fiction, you can do it. If you want to do straight up fantasy, high or low, you can do it. As I've been play testing at different conventions, running adventures that I've written, I have made it a point of order to run it under a different style every time. I've done Gold Walkers as fantasy. I've done it as Deadlands. I've done it as noir. You can, there's not a limit to anything. So you're not even limited as you write it to make sure that, I have to make sure that this works for guns, or I have to make sure it works for bows and arrows. You can make it happen. So it is probably the only thing I've seen out there really that's both easy for a GM to learn and to write for, and also easy enough to teach to someone. Like, I've only had new people. Every time I've set up at a table, I said, "Have you played Savage Worlds?" And they say, "I've never heard of it." And I said, "Well, this is a game you're only gonna play after this. Trust me." And they all pick it up. They all love it, and it's just it's just the best thing out there for if you're new at something and you really are passionate about it. Like if I went back in time and told myself 2 years ago that I'd be writing something and it'd get published and be available for people to buy and play, I'd say, no, you can't just do that. As a matter of fact, if you know what you're doing and you reach out to the right people, and as noted, just everyone in Savage Worlds I've interacted with has been nothing but friendly. You can just get in there and do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably the most generic advice, but just do it.
No, I mean, not starting is really the biggest hurdle.
Yeah. Yeah, you miss every shot you don't take.
That's right. Michael Scott. No.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Justin, anything to add?
I guess I can echo what Cornerstone Games said. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. But I think that when it comes to GMing, like it's a lot of improv and it can feel awkward at times, especially if you haven't really done it before. But everyone's feeling awkward. Like the players are feeling awkward, you're feeling awkward. Just push through it, because you're gonna have a lot of fun. And if you're considering writing your own swag content, throw a story down at the table with some friends and get some of that great collaboration going. Get some ideas. Like Hussman said, he had a player tell him something he never considered before. That's gold. Like to be able to throw something like that in there. So just overcome the fear of being awkward. Like we're all nerds, all of us. Like that's just the way it goes. Sit down at the table, throw your story out there, give it up to the universe to say, this group of guys and gals around this table, they're going to bat this around and we're going to laugh and we're going to figure it out. And maybe something new will come of it. And then maybe that'll help polish it up a little bit. And then you can collaboratively get something in swag. So I guess the main thing I'm trying to say is don't be scared.
I mean, that's great advice. I am checking we may have one other guest. We'll double check here. I think I got my wires crossed for timing. We'll see if they're going to be able to jump in, and if not, we'll wrap up here. Thank you guys so much for coming on and joining us for this Savage Worlds SWAGtember. If you haven't gone out and bought the bundle is only available until 11:59 Saturday. If you hit my birthday, October 1st, the bundle will not be available.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Jump on it right now. Little plug for my birthday. Jump on it right now.
And it's important to note too that even if there's products in there that you already have and have purchased through drive-through,
yes,
you don't that's figured into your final cost, so that those amounts will be taken out.
Yeah.
So it could actually even be for less if you've already owned some of those products.
Right. When I first encountered that on drive-through, I was like, that's a slick feature that I wouldn't even have considered.
Yeah.
But I'm very glad that someone considered it. Anytime I see a bundle and they're like, oh, we're going to discount it by, $6 because you're a PDF addict and you've already purchased things from this bundle. Very grateful, very, very grateful for that. So, that'll bring us to the end of this Savage Universe stream. Next Thursday, I get to hang out with Tracy and talk about the Han cluster, which I'm very excited about.
Nice.
So, guys, thank you for joining me. This has been
Thanks for having us.
A great time to just hang out and chat about Savage Worlds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
All right, everyone.
Happy SWAGtember.
That's right. Happy SWAGtember.
Happy SWAGtember.
We'll be back here next year for more SWAGtember goodness, and then just regular Savage Universe stuff between, now and then. I had something else, and things just escape. Where do thoughts come from?
You failed your smarts check, and that's just the way it goes, man.
It's just the way it goes sometimes.
And you're out of bennies for tonight, so
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, until next time, everyone, may your dice always ace, and go out there and play some Savage Worlds.